I think Raymond Ford gonna have a long night. It's gonna be a long night for Ray. You know, you know, Raymond Ford just right now, he hasn't been active enough, against guys, of quality. Ever since that Nick Ball fight, I haven't seen a Raymond Ford that's really been interested in the sport. I seen him doing everything else though. I like the chain, I like the cars, but it's like, goddamn, what I'm saying? How many chains we gonna get? What I'm saying? How many whips we finna get? Like, what I'm saying? I get that part. What I'm saying? You a fly nigga, you got, life in the palm of your hands. You got you some money, you can afford what you can afford. But I'm saying, damn, how many we need? You feel me? Cause then you gonna get too many cars, had to get the bigger crib. Then you focus on getting the bigger crib, you can't focus on the boxing. You know what I'm saying? And you super rich over there in Houston. I was gonna move to Houston before I moved to the palm trees. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna start flying out to Houston too. But before I moved here, that was my second option. I was either gonna move here or Houston. But I wanted to do the palm trees and shit. But you know what I'm saying? I know how far the money stretch out though. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, hey, how much we need though? You know what I'm saying? You dripping, bro. Like, to the flow, you dripping. Catch my drip. But I'm saying, as far as the boxing part, I'm seeing you more so regressing. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing you regressing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know after this fight, we're gonna see you popping out. You gonna have the Amiri, you know what I'm saying, the guwap on. You gonna have the money. You know what I'm saying? You gonna have that shit. But I'm saying, okay, when you go to the crib, you take that shit off, you hang that shit up, and then you like, man, this money shit right here is stupid. I'm about to go put it in the bank, right? I'm saying, then what? You know what I'm saying? And you young. You young. You know what I'm saying? We around the same age. You young, papi. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, damn. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get comfortable like this. Like, we don't get comfortable, right? You know what I'm saying? I just think your skill set will lose you this fight, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, Bobby, even after this fight, don't get comfortable. Come on, nah, don't get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Get this shit and build this boxing shit. Don't get comfortable. You that. You just gonna be that against the guys that you that against, but you marketable. Very nice fighter, cute style. You know what I'm saying? What you mean he got a cute style? He not a boxer. No, he can get in there on your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, against the styles, against the guys that he can, look and shine against, he will look very good, very marketable. I think he'll stop a lot of guys at his weight if he's marketed, correctly. But that's what I don't like about Ray Ford now that, we getting closer to the fight. I'm getting a little bit more tuned in, more than I was tuned into than, at the beginning. At first I'm just looking at boxing. Now I'm looking at all these interviews. I'm looking at all these chains. I'm looking at all these whips. I'm looking at all these hoes. I'm looking at all these. I'm saying, damn, bro. You know what I'm saying? I know New Jersey was limited. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, hey, we got to be on the sport. And I'm not saying he not in the gym. But I'm saying when you come from the gym, it got to be boxing. You know what I'm saying? It can't be if the motherfucking motor need to get upgraded. You know what I'm saying? Hey, babe, you want some Jamaican? We can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I learned that the hard way. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting Jamaican. You know what I'm saying? That's a little any from where I'm from. When I'm saying Jamaican, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm eating good, like, daily out the chicken. You know what I'm saying? Hey, babe, you want a plate? Yeah, let me get a plate. My kids, let me get them a plate. I'm talking about, I'm talking about this just lunch. Dinner, I'm getting 4 and 5 year olds $12 plates. Catching my drift. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nah, we can't get comfortable like that. Then boom, you look up and shit like that. You like, damn, I'm finna go get the crib decorated and all that shit. You look up, you like, damn, I done spent all this money bullshitting. I don't want Raymond Ford to do that. Dude got talent. Dude got a story. He's a very, like I say, he's a very inspirational fighter. That Adebek fight, again, shows you what put me on to a fighter. You know what I'm saying? Being able to get knocked down and come back. He gonna get knocked down in this fight and come back. But next time I come back, I want to see him hungry. I want to see him in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? I want him to go to his hood, with security. In the front and the back, he's safe. I want him to sleep in his old house 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I want him to leave the debit card at the house in Houston I want him to take him $150 and go back to the trenches for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And then when Raymond Ford do that and he come back, he gonna be kicking ass. Watch. Go back to the trenches, 150. Go back to the trenches, $150, B. You know what I'm saying? Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? You wake up in the morning, you know, you got to pour you some cereal or something. You know what I'm saying? If it's even some more in the box. You know, go back there feeling that way so you can get back on. But, you know, that chicken you been getting now done switched everything up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like I said, I'm seeing the dripping, bro. You know what I'm saying? I just want to see the fighting, bro. You know, I ain't like that Nick Ball. You know, I don't like how you responded to that whole situation. I get the weight and all that, but, you know, I seen you respond to that by, I got this money. See what I'm saying? And, you know, I don't want you feeling like that, bro, because it's, you know, the money part cool. You know, even the level I'm at. You know what I'm saying? The money part cool, but when we get to saying, you know, fuck everything, you know what I'm saying? We start losing sight of the only thing, and the only thing for Raymond Ford right now, being so young, is boxing. You know, run this up in boxing. You know, get you 170 something acres out there in Texas. You know, get you a business out there, Ford Burgers. You know what I'm saying? You know, it'll hit you like a Ford. You know what I'm saying? And turn the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, the jury and all that shit, come on now. The hoes, they already done seen the shit when you posted it the first few times. You know what I'm saying? We get that shit. Everybody got a kid. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a kid. Some buffs or something, or a rollie or something. Somebody got something, but we already know you teed, bro. We know it's real. We know you got it. You know what I'm saying? We know that's that. You know, we want to see you get in there and fight. You know, and pay attention to the sport. You know, and I think that's what's gonna cause you to lose this fight, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think that's gonna cause you to lose this fight. You know, I've been seeing you in the gym working a minute. I'm gonna give you that credit though. I have seen you in the gym a while working with them gallons, you know, in there working. You know, I've been seeing you working, but, you know, I'm seeing you doing it with a whole lot of other stuff. And, you know, when I start to get to seeing that, it get to making me think that, you know, your head not in the sport. You know, we wasn't seeing Crawford come down, chained up, Louis'd up. You know, we wasn't seeing that. You know what I'm saying? And I just want Ford to be hungry again, because I feel like a Raymond Ford that's hungry makes this fight competitive. But, you know, I think the Raymond Ford that we've been seeing right now, you know, he in his silk pajamas. You know what I'm saying? For his level of lifestyle. You know, he can be in his silk pajamas, you know, having some M's or having a few $100,000. Absolutely. You know, that crib paid up, them bills paid up, the woman and the kids good, your household good, you good. You good. And he driving what he want to drive, wearing what he want to wear, having what he having to have. He want to eat it, do it, go see it, do it, he could do it. You know what I'm saying? You know, those are all beautiful things. You know what I'm saying? But when it start to blind us from our original purpose, that's what, you know, really start to mess things up for us. You know what I'm saying? He got all the talent in the world to be the best, to fight the best, to build his profile in the sport. You know, even long term, you know, it might not be his time now. You know, Shaq got a few losses. You know, now he's starting to put it together. You know, we haven't seen the best Raymond Ford yet. You know, so hopefully this fight, man, you know, he go back to the drawing board, you know, and hopefully he sit in the crib, you know, and just look at everything and be like, bro, I got it already. Let me focus on this boxing shit. Like, I already got it already, bro. You not, you know, you not in survival mode no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could chase the dream part now. You know what I'm saying? You ain't trying to get your crib, you know, trying to put some food in the refrigerator no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't Raymond Ford not walking no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, let's go ahead and internalize that. You know, Lord, thank you for everything you done did for me. You know, you done put me in a position. And it's not just Raymond Ford. All these guys that, you know, are getting these opportunities and it's turning them down. You know, hey, God, thank you for this stuff. You know, but give me, whoever they pray to, you know, give me the strength, the motivation, and the courage. You know what I'm saying? To keep chasing my dream and to not be stagnant. You know, because to live is to be in motion. You know, You know, you get what you get, you do what you got to do. You know, you spend how you spend, you live how you live. You know, but this sport, you can't play boxing. You know, when I'm seeing these guys at the end of the sport, you know, they doing it all for the chicken, with the chicken, with the chicken, with the chicken. Then they end up at the end without the chicken, but then they wasn't focused on this part, and then they lose this part. Damn, you done lost the money, the bitch, your mind, and the motherfucking, come on, nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for me, Raymond Ford, he lose this fight, you know, I'm gonna push him on his channel. You know, I'm gonna still push him on the channel. I still think he beats who he beats. You know, I'm gonna always be 100% honest in my prediction. You know, because I understand that, you know, he got family. You know, and I want all these guys to eat and win. But I want these guys making the right decision out of boxing, and I need them making the right decision for themselves out of boxing, y'all. But show that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to see all these guys winning. You know, I'm trying to see y'all winning, me winning. That's why the show is called what the show called, Stack Racks TV. You know what I'm saying? We do this boxing shit, yeah, but we stack this shit too. We see an opportunity in the market. Oh, Haney versus Norman, they gonna give me my money plus some more money. Damn right, I'm going Haney. You know what I'm saying? We not just watching niggas, you know, excuse me, we not just watching folk, you know what I'm saying? And we just on some shit like, you know, we watching them because they driving cars and got in chain. You know, we done seen that with the music industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching these guys for the storyline. You know, so when I go to work getting knocked down today, I go look at Raymond Ford and he picked me up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm watching him bounce back in real time. You know what I'm saying? That's what I loved about Caleb playing. I used to play that when I used to clear my property. Like, I used to have to hit my trees. I used to have to, you know, do a lot by hand. You know, I started hitting oaks with a fireman axe. You know, when I got my woman on and my children on this channel, you know, she'll tell you. See what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have nothing. I had some property, no support, and a dream. You know, I did whatever it took to get it done. You know, I'm gonna show the videos on here. You know, but you know, it's like, you know, when you put your back against the wall voluntarily and you get used to doing that, you know, it becomes a habit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, back then I used to go get Jamaican, right? I used to go get Jamaican and shit, come to the crib, burn my gas, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm living shit, you know, I'm living how I'm living, I'm around what I'm living in the best part of my state. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I got comfortable and that shit hit me. Like, you know, when I moved, I'm like, damn, I could have been doing a lot more to be a lot more up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you up, you know, God good, you know, but you know, God would have been a lot better had I been a lot more focused. See what I'm saying? You know, and that's what I want for these guys, to be focused. You know, go back to hitting these trees. In my example, you know, in my case with them fireman axes. You know, that's before I could get the $400 chainsaw, or before I could give a guy, you know, $2,000, $3,000 to come knock 2 or 3 trees down. You know, so they don't hit the power line. You know, because they hit the power line, that's a $10,000 fee. So you rather pay buddy ass 2, 3 of them to get them down than they fought. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got to go back to the hungry part. And I think the lack of that hungry part won't hurt them in this fight.